I mean, one last tip on that, because I could talk about this for ages, is Markdown. People want to learn JavaScript, React, like all the latest cool tools, but they don't want to learn Markdown, which is used in the README of the project, which is the most important file.
How do you advise me that how should I get started? Especially what should I not do?
But let's just say I started contributing to open source before there was Git and GitHub. So it was a long time ago. But when JavaScript came about for front end stuff, I really didn't enjoy the JavaScript. I really didn't like JavaScript.
Gosh, man, so lucky. The AI content, there is no soul inside it. The soul is being sucked out. You can point it at this is AI.
Oh, that's a hard question.
Your couple of favorite AI tools that you are exploring these days, maybe enjoying, maybe not so far, but hey, how can we end a podcast without discussing AI? Sometimes I think they are synonyms of each other.
Thank you.
But yeah,
that makes me so happy.
Hey there, everyone. My name is Hitesh, and welcome to this another podcast episode. We're doing a lot of them, by the way. These days, I'm inviting a lot of people from the industry, having fun with all of them. And Eddie is here today. Hey, Eddie, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. We had a little bit of the hiccup due to the time. Where are you based right now?
Currently in London, but if you ask me again in a few weeks, it'd be Portugal.
Oh man, Portugal is nice. It's really nice at this time. Little hot, but it's really nice to be in Portugal.
Yes, it'll be a nice break from the cold weather we've had in the UK.
Oh man, UK and it's cold. Oh, that's a different talk altogether.
Absolutely.
We'll keep this one as a little bit of a fast-paced kind of a recording and answering questions, rapid fire stuff. But we'll definitely do one follow-up after this one. So Eddie, I'll start with this one. Tea or coffee?
It depends the time of the day. Let's go coffee.
Oh man, I'm on the team's tea side. Okay. Vim, Helix, or Code?
I don't know what some of those are. That's quite a hard question. Code.
Okay, Code. Of course, it's almost no-brainer question. Light mode, dark mode?
It depends. I'm so complicated. It depends on the application. Dark mode for VS Code, light mode for GitHub.
GitHub on light mode? Come on, man. Everything should be dark mode. Okay. What do you mostly prefer? Solving lead code style question or building application in your fun free time?
Building application. I don't think I've ever done like those leak code games really. Maybe for like 10 minutes, a bit of fun with a friend. But yeah, not something I really do. Real world problems. Open source is the way to go.
If we are here to talk about with the Eddie, open source is the name of the game. How long you have been contributing or discussing or inspiring people about the open source? How many years, man?
Well, let's just say, I don't want to give away my age, but let's just say I started contributing to open source before there was Git and GitHub. So it was a long time ago.
Oh man, another friend from the SVN era. Mercury.
Even before that, CVS. I mean, when
CVS.
SVN came about, it was like, this is amazing. But when Git came about, we realized what was amazing, and Git is amazing.
Yeah. I don't miss Mercury. I have worked on Mercury. I don't miss it even tiny bit. Mercury is never bring it back. I'm happy with the Git.
Exactly.
Okay. A couple of fun questions. What is the most wonderful thing that open source and doing what you are doing has given to you? The most beautiful thing you can point out.
I think I'd like to mention two things. One is it's opened loads of doors for me and really grew my network and just made me see and meet so many amazing people, and it just keeps happening every day. And the second thing is just geeking out with the community and seeing the collaborations and how open source and collaborating with them is opening doors for them makes me so happy. It's just brilliant.
Oh man, I absolutely love it. And especially through the open source community, through the networking, you're able to reach out the whole world. The world is your home in itself. And I really like that. I come from a side where I have done enough of fair share of my lead code as well, enough of building and contributing in the open source project. By the way, a little shout out and a promotion that I'm currently building my own open source project as well. It's known as freeapi.app. it's really complex network of API where any beginner can learn how to use APIs onto a complex level. Complex authentication, fully e-commerce app, fully chat app,
Wow.
and you can use any front end in that. React, Angular, React Native, iOS, Android. It's a fully professionally designed backend. So if you haven't checked it out, go
Amazing.
check it out. I'm super happy that a lot of people are contributing in. Very soon we'll start to ship out them t-shirts as well. That's the first thing. Oh man.
Awesome.
So
Are you getting ready for Hacktoberfest in October?
very soon we are working on that, but we are working with some of the big corporate houses. They are also helping us out in building more refining this application so that beginners can learn how to really use the professional grade API. So apart from that, Eddie, coming on to some of the fast-paced question, favorite city or country?
Thailand, definitely.
Oh man, Thailand. How many times have you been to Thailand?
A lot. We go, yeah, a couple of times a year. We're already planning our next trip out for this coming winter. We don't want to spend another winter in Europe. So yes, if anyone wants to join us in Thailand, or if you're in Southeast Asia next winter, let us know. We'll be there.
Oh, ping me up on my phone, and I'll be joining you up in the flight. It's very nearby. I can just take a direct flight from and it's nearby.
Awesome.
One of my favorite country, which I recommend to a lot of people, is Vietnam. It's
Oh wow.
unexplored and it's so amazing. The internet speed is so nice that you can always be on the video call with anybody on the roads as well. It's so nice and cheap.
That's awesome. Looking forward to it. It's on our list of places to go visit while we're out in Southeast Asia this time. So Philippines and Vietnam we haven't done before, but heard loads of great things. So we can't wait.
All right. A quick question again, Eddie. What are you currently working on?
Oh, that's a hard question because I've been working the last 2 years full time on Biodrop, but actually winding that open source project down. The community's been amazing. And I'm actually looking to start a new project. It's called an open source health check. And I've got some more information coming on it soon. I haven't started it just yet, but it's going to be super exciting. So if people want to geek out with me, yeah, come and follow me. And I look forward to geeking out with you. There will be more open source soon. We have other open source projects from Eddie Hub, but this one is definitely, I'm super, super excited about.
For all the updates for the Eddie, I'll link down in the description section about the Twitter. He is very chatty on the Twitter. The one guy who you want to constantly keep on pinging, late night, early morning. Eddie is just pinging on Twitter.
I live on Twitter, yes.
Yeah, no social media, nothing else. Just give him Twitter and he'll be happy for the day. Oh, awesome, man. Okay, let's take you a little bit on the earlier side. Have you done ever like have you ever done mobile development also?
I have. I've done the whole responsive side with client work and open source projects. But in terms of the apps, I have done React Native, Ionic, and I did play a little bit back in the day with the native. But to be honest, I'm just too passionate about web. So whenever I do need a mobile app, I do use Ionic or React Native. But it's been a while. A lot of my projects have just been responsive.
Oh man, nice. Okay, couple of programming languages that you really worked quite a lot, but you didn't enjoy that. Like there are definitely a lot of choices, and somebody who is at your age, it's not like one or two programming language. There's a whole lot of journey of different programming languages. Some we have to work because of work. We don't enjoy that, but hey, that's the job. And some we really enjoy to work on with that. Is there any couple of programming language you want to place in both the categories?
Yes, there is actually a language I want to place in both the categories, might not be what you're expecting. But when I was coding a long, long time ago, well over coming up to 15 years, I was doing a lot of Java and PHP, and I absolutely loved Java. It wasn't perfect, but I absolutely loved how strict and verbose it was. But when JavaScript came about for front-end stuff, I really, really didn't enjoy the JavaScript. I really didn't like JavaScript. But if you look at me now, all I do is JavaScript and I really love it. So it's quite interesting how it switched. And I haven't done Java or PHP in, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 years. And I've just been doing JavaScript and TypeScript. And I love TypeScript, but I find with open source work, it's great because of the strictness, but then it puts a lot of people off. So I've been doing a lot more JavaScript because of that. So yes, the 15 years ago, Eddie would never have thought I'd be doing JavaScript full stack and really enjoying it.
Turns out almost every programmer that I talk on the WhatsApp or on how we talk and all of that, nobody thought that we'll be writing this much of JavaScript. We almost avoided JavaScript, especially before ES6. No classes, no all these arrow functions, fancy stuff. We're like, why the hell is there JavaScript? Like maximum we can bear is Ajax. That's tiny bit, but I don't want to even mess up with the Ajax. And then ES6 came around and things changed. I now write more JavaScript than anything else. I also think that since you have written a little bit of PHP, the PHP that you know, I think it's 5.x version. And since you have never touched the PHP.
Yes, that's true.
Oh man, a lot of people. I need to bring somebody who is an advocate of PHP on the channel as well, because PHP now, we recently did ship a project in a professional clients project, which is related to taxation and a little bit of the accounting. And the team did it so ridiculously fast in the Laravel and the modern PHP. And we are hosting it on just $20 machine, a $20 VPS. Wow. And it's killing it. We already have like around 2,200 of the paying clients into it. The client is happy. The performance is happy. I mean, like, gosh, I couldn't understand the entirety of the source code because it's been a while that I haven't written any PHP. But oh man, the Laravel is the name of the game now.
Interesting. Okay, that's amazing. Well, congratulations on the 2,200 paying users. That's brilliant.
I wish that would be my entire project, but hey, I was just monitoring and managing the team. But good. Happy to work with such a talented team on that part. Apart from that, the majorly that we have written recently, like the major work that we do is on Ruby on Rails. DHH would be happy listening to it. But Ruby on Rails is another less talked thing. These days, if you want to grow your YouTube channel, you want to grow your Twitter account, you have to talk about JavaScript.
It is true. It is true. Back in the day, there was a lot of Rails talk and content, and that's what I mean. Even the conference events, it was always Ruby on Rails and Grails, which was Groovy on Rails, and everything. All these sort of like asterisks, like star on Rails. But I think things have changed now. Definitely, JavaScript is the hot topic still.
Yeah. Okay. You are writing a lot of JavaScript as well. Which is the framework that you are currently fiddling around? Next.js, Gatsby, Core React in the Vite format. Which one you are handling right now?
I'm spending most of my time on Next.js, and I'm really enjoying it.
Oh man, Next.js on Vercel or Next.js on?
On Vercel.
Oh man, they are so tied up, so closely tied up. The moment you move them on AWS, that's a different story.
It is. I mean, let me explain why. So a year ago with BioDrop, we were trying to do Kubernetes, and we had all these amazing clusters, and it was excellent. We had Mongo coming up, and it would every kind of 30 days cycle the username and passwords with, like, it was all set up really well. But when there was an issue, it was quite difficult to debug because we weren't Kubernetes experts, and we spent a lot of time on that. As much as it was fun, we weren't then shipping features and reviewing pull requests from the community. So we decided to put it on Vercel for a short time until we grew the maintainers and so forth. But it just worked so well, like you said, the like image optimization, all that great stuff, and it just worked every time. So although it cost more as project grew, whereas Kubernetes cost more with less users, but as the users grew, the cost didn't grow so much. But with Vercel, the pricing grew faster. But it just worked every time. I never got woken up in the middle of the night for something's down or there's some issue or something like that. So for me, it was definitely a good choice.
Vercel works, man. It just works. I wish there could be a way to reduce down the bill, but man, it just works. It's the charm that it works, and that's what you pay for, man. Yeah. Sadly, we couldn't afford it on our scale that we are managing in one of our startup. We are handling currently around 12 million users there.
Wow.
And we have around 2,000 sub schools there. It's difficult. We tried Vercel, but we realized quickly that we are going to burn the whole cash that we have and probably have to sell our cars to pay the bill. But that's a talk for another day. But okay, Eddie, a couple of questions. A lot of beginners these days are showing interest from especially this subcontinent here in India, are now showing interest in the open source world. And surely some mistakes were made. That's obvious. Whenever a new beginners is just trying their hands and fiddling, we all have damaged the production database in our intern days. So I think they have a little bit damaged of how thing happens in the open source world. So I'm a new one. I realized that, okay, DSA and getting into the high scale companies is one way, but there's also one way of getting noticed by the potential employers, new startups, that I can showcase my project, can do some open source contribution with that. How do you advise me that how should I get started? Especially what should I not do?
And that's some great questions. You're absolutely right. Open source is a great way to work on real world projects and get noticed by these companies, not just to demonstrate our technical skills, but also our core skills, our soft skills. How do we collaborate and communicate with other people, which is really, really important. And it's really hard to test on an interview process. So that's where open source, we can really, really stand out from the crowd. If a beginner or someone new to tech or new to coding or new to a project breaks the open source project or breaks production, it's not their fault. There's something wrong with the project, and great work for discovering a bug. So if you start a new job and you break production, it's not your fault. And if you start on an open source project and you break it, it's also not your fault. There should be processes, automation in place, review processes, and so forth. So I want people not to worry about it. The worst thing that can happen on open source is someone creates a lot of noise and notifications and doesn't add value. It's not the end of the world, but if it happens too much, then someone could potentially get blocked from a repository. I have seen that, but that person was clearly just chasing green squares, like creating a new issue that says test, and then doing test 2, test 3, and then within 10 minutes they've done test 100, and they're clearly just making noise, so they got blocked from the repo. If someone really wants to add value and is trying but is learning, then the people on the project will see that and will help them become more efficient. So just some tips that I could give to people: try and give as much context and information you can in your post. And what I mean by that is, if you're creating an issue and you write a description, don't write like a 3-word description and then you think of something later on and you put in a comment and you put in a comment and you put in a comment, and you might put in 5 comments. So you've created, from 5 comments, you've probably created 6 notifications, and there could be hundreds if not thousands of people watching that repository is getting those notifications. So what I'd recommend is, if you think of something extra, just like edit the description, and therefore it won't send that notification to those people. Obviously, if the conversation is going down, then you'd add a comment. But also, to reduce the conversation, or I say reduce the noise, not the conversation, is put context in the description. Therefore, people don't kind of follow up with, well, what did you mean? Well, I meant this. I still don't understand. What did you mean? And the conversation just keeps going, ends up becoming a real noisy issue. And that's actually one thing I look for when interviewing for my clients, is how do people raise an issue? Because all this back and forth wastes a lot of people time, creates a lot of notifications, as I mentioned. Also, context switching for people is really expensive. So we want to see an issue that has a description that makes sense, and someone who wasn't involved in the conversation or who's new to that issue can read it and go, right, they're referencing this other issue, this is what they mean, I understand, great. So we're still having the conversation, but having a higher quality conversation. That's actually one of my tests that I do. I get someone to write an issue, and I can clearly see if they contribute to open source, or if they've been in the same project with the same 3 people for a while, because they will write very differently. Following our conversation, we should choose option B. Well, what's option A and C? Whereas someone who contributes open source understands that people jump in and out of the conversation because of time zones, because of other responsibilities, and they'll say, following our conversation about option A, B, and C, I recommend option B. But someone who's just joined the conversation can see the context. And this is so important, and it's a really hard skill that we need to practice. I mean, one last tip on that, because I could talk about this for ages, is Markdown. People want to learn JavaScript, React, like all the latest cool tools, but they don't want to learn Markdown, which is used in the README of the project, which is the most important file. It's also used in our comments, our pull requests, our issues, everything. And this is how we can communicate our message better. I mean, there are some people who are good at giving context, but then they'll write a whole page of just a block of text, whereas they could use bold or italics or include an image or a code snippet from somewhere in the repo that's automatically pre-populated by GitHub. And they can do diffs and syntax highlighting and all this great stuff that just makes it easier for the reader to understand and digest, which again shows that person is considerate for the other person, which is super important. So I highly recommend people learning Markdown wherever you are in your career. If you're just starting or you've got 10 years experience, Markdown is really, really important and will help your messages and your communication stand out. We can use it in Discord and Slack as well and get those messages. People sometimes wonder, oh, my questions don't get answered. Well, you've put a block of code in a block of text, but you haven't marked it with code blocks. You haven't thought about the other person reading it. So yeah, I think that's really, really important. And it's something we can learn fairly easily. I wrote a course on Markdown recently, and it's great to see people's before and afters, and people sending it to me saying, I used to write like this, but now I write this. I'm like, oh, great, it looks really good. And they can do that in an afternoon or a day. It's not like they have to sit down for a month to learn it. They're not learning a whole language. It is, as you know, I think there's 20 things they need to learn, and that's just really, really helpful.
Oh, great point, Eddie. Nobody has made it up so far in the whole conversation in the podcast and stuff. I think Markdown is so much underrated, and you'll find that every single senior developer, he writes more Markdown than his code. That's usually the norm, because I write a lot of documentation, I write a lot of articles. And I use Hashnode, by the way, to write a lot of articles. Feel free to use any of the platform. But the way how I write it is, it's all in my editor. I don't go anywhere else. I write it whole in my editor. There's always a MD file.
Nice.
And that's how I always do it. And I highly, highly recommend people to spend probably just a weekend. You don't need too much of the time. If you are well versed in JavaScript, you can write your loops and functions. You can learn just Markdown. It's just a couple of hashes and backticks. That's mostly you will be using in writing that. Rest of the nuances, yeah, you can learn on the go whenever you need it. You can find it, hunt it. But I think Markdown. This also reminds me, I once was talking to Sebastian in one of the earlier podcasts, founder of Fast API, and he said the exact same thing. I write more Markdown than the Python. So if a guy who revolutionized the entire Python ecosystem by the Fast API is writing more Markdown, you should be writing it more. The more you'll be writing, the more you'll enjoy the writing process. A lot of people in the early days believe that coding is all about writing code, but it is not. It's more about writing Markdown, figure out the things, and debugging, of course. And then you write a tiny bit of code, and then lots of test cases, lots of documentation for it. That's how the day revolves around. Not like how it is being shown in the YouTube videos that I went to Google Office, had a coffee. That's different case altogether.
Exactly. And you made me think of a point that it is about all those things you said, but also collaboration. And one thing I'd like to add is when we think of an idea, we might discuss it on Slack or Discord or raise a GitHub discussion. We think of an idea, talk about it, and go, right, this is what we're going to do. You then raise an issue, and then it has a title and description, just like the discussion, and it includes Markdown. It's about collaboration. And then we go away, make those changes, like you said, maybe write some automated test, and raise a pull request, which is a title and description with Markdown, and we collaborate on the changes. So really it's collaboration, some changes, collaboration, and then Markdown is involved in all of that whole line. So I think collaboration and then Markdown reinforces that healthy and nicer collaboration.
This reminds me, since we are all the time collaboration, what are you using right now, Eddie, for your user stories? Is it some of the Jira tools still, or you have found something else?
Yes, I haven't used Jira in over 10 years. I actually, when I have my client projects...
Man, so lucky.
Yes, exactly. When I have client projects, the first question I ask is, do you use Jira? Yes. Thank you very much. Goodbye. I'm not working on that project. Because for me, I think, I don't know if we can say this, you might want to cut this out, but Jira is a horrible project. And it is horrible because their marketing is so good. Their marketing is so good that to the powers that be, the managers, the people who hold the purse strings and pay for memberships, they're told that if you use Jira, you'll become an agile team. So then therefore, all the middle management and so forth think their team is going to be agile because they're using Jira and don't follow any agile principles. But they think because they're using Jira, they're agile. But the marketing on Jira is so good that it makes them believe that. Unfortunately, as an engineer using Jira, it's not within where we're hosting our code, for one, so you have to log into a separate platform. It's not connected natively, and then the powers that be just think that the team is agile and don't follow all the best practices because they're using Jira. So it's not great. So I avoid those projects because they usually
I
like,
yet
lack
to have to
communication.
find a programmer who loves Jira. Like I haven't found. Like we were on the linear for a time. I enjoyed working on linear, but again, it was not like my vote didn't count it in my own startup. So everybody was like, "Hey, we need to move on to convolution and Jira." We are back in Jira. I don't enjoy that, man. But what can I do?
For me, if you're using GitHub or GitLab to host your repo, you've got issues, you've got milestones, you've got project board, you've got everything that we need to run a successful project on those platforms, and then they'll be kept up to date, because there's no point having this amazing Jira that is super agile, but no one uses it and everything's out of date, and it's just the manager uses it to report to their boss that they're doing a good job to keep their job, sort of thing. So yes, I think we've got all the tools we need on GitHub and GitLab, and those are the projects that are more successful because the team works better together. So that's one of my questions I have for those projects. So yeah, but to answer your question, GitHub or GitLab, whatever project tools within those platforms is what we use. Project board or just issues or milestones, whatever they prefer.
Oh man, we definitely need to do another long shot podcast in more of the things. We are having so much of common things that we are exploring in day out. I'm pretty sure you are exploring some of the tool chaining of the JavaScript ecosystem. You might be following Bun, you might be following Biome.js as well. We need to have a separate talk about.
There is so much to cover. We could geek out for ages.
Yeah, but one final question before we sum this one up. Your couple of favorite AI tools that you are exploring these days, maybe enjoying, maybe not so far, but hey, how can we end a podcast without discussing AI?
That is true. So in my defense, I'm just going to say that I always have, I'm not keen on AI, let's say. But I am really, really enjoying GitLab Duo that I'm using at the moment. It has the code completion, like GitHub Copilot and some of the others. And it has a chat, which I'm enjoying using. I don't use ChatGPT, so for me, this is quite new. I like the refactor of it. I like to create the tests for it. And I'm actually really enjoying it. I've got a video coming out soon on it, because for someone who's not keen on AI to suddenly be excited about it, it is great. I'm actually really enjoying it. I find having it all in my IDE and having all these tools, it's just working quite well. And so I'm actually really pleasantly surprised at how great it is. So it has come a long way. I think for me, just to, in my defense again, the reason why I'm not keen on AI is because I find a lot of responses, be it email or YouTube comments or Twitter replies, are all AI generated, and the authenticity has just gone. I mean, so many people had to unfollow because their content is purely AI generated content, and it's just no authenticity.
And you can find that the AI content, there is no soul inside it. The soul is being sucked out. You can point it at this as AI.
Yes, and I just don't like that. I want to see, the authenticity side of things, and that's why I'm on social media, on Twitter specifically. But yes, GitLab Duo is definitely the tool that I'm using every day at the moment, and thoroughly enjoying it.
I'll definitely explore it and probably make a video on it as well very soon. Again, we haven't seen much of the tweet about this exact thing from you. I was expecting more tweets.
Yes, there will be some coming out. I don't try not to tweet too much about AI because I feel it's just very saturated, and I don't want to, push too much. But I've got a little bit of content coming out soon about it, and maybe a little bit more. We'll see what we can do. If anyone has any topics they do want me to cover, do let me know. I love creating content, be it tweets or YouTube videos or live streams, with ideas from the community. So I think that's great, and it's always great to collaborate. So Hitesh, it was amazing to geek out with you. I look forward to you next time.
Sure. I would also love to geek out on more of the topics. Definitely, I'll ping you up again about more of a podcast, maybe streaming together, maybe exploring some stuff on React Native or React, or we'll do some streamings as well. Probably pair programming, coding stuff. We'll definitely try out. All right, so this was a really fast-paced interaction with, everybody knows, Eddie and open source. Sometimes I think they are synonyms of each other.
Thank you.
But yeah,
that makes me so happy.
Yeah, so that's all for this one. Definitely, I'll bring in more awesome people on this podcast, and all the links in the description section about Eddie. Go follow him on the Twitter. That's the only place you'll find him up. And surely, let's catch up in another such video.